Our story begins in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, during the Great Depression. Ruth Gross and Walter Dean meet, fall in love, and get married. Shortly after this time, the couple becomes pregnant, but they lose their child to miscarriage. The doctor said to Ruth, I'm afraid that you won't be able to have children. Do not try to have another child. But, as fate would have it, September 11th, 1937, Ruth gave birth to Stanley David. Imagine, Stan Dean almost didn't happen. It wasn't long after this, World War II broke out, and Stan and his mother were left alone as Walter was shipped off to Europe. During Walter's absence overseas, Ruth was earning money for their little family by working in a factory, making aluminum cans. And Stan would often recall that she would come home, fingers bleeding, but that didn't stop her from caring or doing things like writing to her husband once a week, explaining their little boy's antics, whether he was running up and down North Lime Street naked or exhibiting all those little boy behaviors that we would later come to know as ADHD, most likely. However, Ruth would always be doting on their special little boy, Stanny. Later in Stan's childhood, his family moved to East King Street, putting them in closer proximity to downtown. It was around this time in his life he found a love for movies. There were several grand theaters in the area at that time, and he would walk down to the theaters, unaided as most kids would in those days. Saturday mornings, first thing, Stan would be there when the theater would open. And he would take his seat, watch the newsreels and the cartoons and the feature attraction over and over until they kicked him out. It was films like Mildred Pierce, It's a Wonderful Life,
That's right.
The Yearling, Miracle on 34th Street that informed his passion for a good story. Stan would then return home and reenact what he had seen on the silver screen, to the great pleasure of his mother and sometimes to the consternation of his father. And if company was over, he had a ready-made audience. And maybe there's something you didn't know, but if you know Stan, it's not hard to believe that during his junior high school days, Stan wanted to be an athlete. But a coach side-cutted his dream by saying, "Come back when you can dribble without looking at the ball, boy." Thankfully, one of Stan's teachers, who didn't focus on a child's shortcomings, but saw potential in him, encouraged him to audition for the school play, Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And he landed the lead role of Scrooge. Stan often said it was the encouragement of a teacher that made a big difference in his life, and this ignited his passion for the stage. However, his father, Walter, wanted Stan to follow in his footsteps and succeed him in the family photography business. Walter was very successful in the Lancaster area as the photographer at the Hamilton Watch Company. And Stan, being Stan, just didn't gravitate toward the business side of things. Stan graduated from high school needing to make a big decision. Should he follow his dream of acting or find a steady, local, secure job? Stan decided to attend Millersville Teachers College and become a teacher of history and social studies. And after receiving a certification, he taught for 3 years in the Solanco School District, but didn't give up his passion for theater completely. He continued to act to local acclaim at places like the Fulton Opera House. Stan's local acclaim grew outside of the Lancaster area to the attention of the prestigious Pasadena Playhouse in California, who invited him to audition. Could this be his ticket to Hollywood? While Stan was very passionate about his students and his teaching career, he accepted the opportunity and was offered a summer scholarship. With a ticket to Hollywood in one hand, and the encouragement of his mother and the cheers of the students who had grown to love him in the other, Stan made his way westward. With the hair and the tan, he was well on his way to becoming the next James Dean. Pasadena Playhouse was the springboard for many major stars in the film and entertainment industry. It was known as Hollywood's talent factory. Stan's summer scholarship went so well that his brief stay turned into 3 years. And during this time, he found a small group of friends that became his West Coast family. He graduated having had experience in every facet of the stage and stage production. But the Hollywood producer never came knocking. So, Stan boarded his TWA flight back to Pennsylvania, having never gotten the chance to become the next James Dean. Instead, he decided to return to Lancaster and become the one and only Stan D.